line of sight of Patton may make a spearhead movement.
Well, this looks really great, guys.
You are advancing constantly beyond knowledge.
Just don't look at these 4 tanks in your
No? those aren't painted yet?
Yeah, I didn't have time to paint them all.
Oh, man. They look good from here.
That's the force you're up against, baby.
Hey! Hey, hey, Blue Table fans! I'm here with Elliot.
Hey, everybody.
And you may not know this, but Elliot is famous in the
Infamous.
Wargaming infamous. Doesn't that mean more than famous? Anyway,
Okay.
let's just say it's a different kind of famous. So we're up here at Valhalla. For those of you just joining the program, Valhalla is a mini convention / retreat that we do up in the Utah mountains at world-class resort Sundance. Location may be different next year. We're not sure.
It's hard to beat this.
The rule, it will be. The rule is it has to be equally as awesome or more awesome than the last location.
Booyah.
For example, this location is slightly more awesome than the one we had before. Yeah, I know. Tough to imagine, huh?
Yeah.
But those places are out there. So anyway, so Elliot, what's your background in the wargaming industry?
Well, I've been playing for about 10 years, and I got looped in with it because I used to play a lot of online games, and my wife took the home computer, and somebody said, well, if you like strategy games, here's the game for you. And it's been
Hold on, your
downhill.
wife took the home computer?
Yep, at that time she did a home business, and so I was playing a lot of online games, and she said,
I'm imagining you like playing like Bejeweled or something, and she comes out and goes, and just knocks it over.
oh, you've got my wife.
It's 4 a.m.
Yeah, no, I played a lot
There goes
of
the home computer.
Red Alert,
Her
Command
foot
and
is like
Conquer.
through the tower.
So after Red Alert and Command and Conquer, I said, you know what? I need to go out and find a good game. I went to the local hobby store. They took me hook, line, and sinker. And I've loved building and painting and really going good
This
at
guy's and you've been seeing some of his stuff, so you know he's not just making it up.
it. Yeah.
Do you know what I love about Elliot? His head is equally as large as mine, if not a little bit larger.
Yes.
So I don't have to like back up a little bit in the shot to make my head look not so freakishly. But seriously, Elliot is so friendly, like just one of those people that just kind of draws you right on in, and
Thank
he's
you.
like, "Oh hey, buddy, I'm starting to kind of like you too." So we're having a good time.
We're having a
Valhalla's-
great time up here.
Elliot came up with a friend of his who had us do what's called a private Valhalla, and that's where there's one ticket. I think it is 14 to 16 people come out, and we do the war games.
Yep.
We provide
Custom
good support
tables
for
that are amazing.
Yes, thank you. And food.
Living like
Right?
a king.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually didn't eat dinner last night
Yeah. And it was
because
a
my
great-
intestines were actually physically completely packed.
Yeah. That's the one thing is if you come up to Valhalla, it is truly a 5-star resort with the gaming atmosphere. You know, I've played on some really nice tables. I've been honored to play on some GW head tables and their Lustria tables. The Blue Table crew sets up tables that are
About 50% as good as that.
about 500 times better than that. I mean, just
okay,
you
wow.
look at it, and it's awe-inspiring. You know, when you find people standing and taking photos. You know, we all play a lot of games, and you just want a picture of your army on that table. You know that you've got some beautiful armies and some beautiful tables and stuff like that. And then you play, and you're all done, and all of a sudden you realize, wow, check this out. I've got a 5-star food spread with strawberries dipped in chocolate and cheesecake and beautiful lasagna and fresh salads. And, you know, it's the kind of thing where you're like, wow, I love the fact that I am being completely catered to, and all I need to do is game. It's so nice.
Yeah,
Till 2 in the morning. I mean, wow. You know, we start at 6 o'clock in the morning and game till 2, and it gets to a point where you're like, you know what, my fix has been resolved. Nice. Very nice.
Awesome. Oh, I didn't turn off my phone. Why did I not do that? Okay, let's make that go away. Okay, so let's talk about wargaming. So your main thing is Warhammer Fantasy, is
Correct.
that right?
That's my main focus, yeah.
Okay, but you also play 40K.
And War Machine.
And War Machine, fantastic. And you work for Forgeworld.
I do.
But it's not your full-time thing.
It's not. They just bring me out for special events.
Okay.
So I have a normal job like everybody else, but like when an event comes around, Games Day, Adepticon, PAXCon, they call me up and say, hey, we need you to come out and do sales for us.
Okay. So here's the deal. Games Workshop and also Forgeworld are larger companies, notably larger than the other actors in the field doing
Correct.
the same thing. And the perception is they're a bit insular. And
Agreed.
so, but I was hoping maybe you could tell me a little bit about Forgeworld as a company, without, of course, I don't know, overstepping some kind of confidentiality bounds.
Yeah. No, the fun thing with Forgeworld is it's always been a separate specialty modeling company. And for the longest time, the only resin models you could get, for a lot of the guys that have been doing this a while, was from Forgeworld. When Finecast started coming out, they still haven't got it right. And people always ask us, is Forgeworld doing Finecast or is Finecast from Forgeworld? They're completely separate. The molds are separate, the location that they're done, the company, and even the type of resin that is used is completely separate. Because we have people who
Now,
look at us and they're like...
why is that? Why didn't they just say, all right, Forgeworld, use your expertise and your,
As crazy as it is, the Forgeworld models are very limited. And not only are they limited, but the quality of the models are much, much tighter. So you get stuff where you find Forgeworld models and we don't need to produce 10,000 models.
Oh,
we
I
don't need
see.
to produce 5,000. We need to produce 500 of them, and there it is. So the thing they can do is a much tighter quality control.
Is that the runs on, like, when they say Forgeworld's, it's not Forgeworld, Finecast, Dark Eldar Archon, they've got a cast up and package like 10,000 of those.
Minimum.
Right.
Yeah. And when they do that kind of bulk and they do that stuff, a lot of guys are like, hey, you're not just getting the quality that you need to. But anytime you do anything in mass quantities like that, you're going to have a slip, where you're just not getting the normal quality you do. When you get Forgeworld, I've always been amazed because people get into it and they really look at the models tight. There's not the same bubbles, they're not the same anything.
Okay, how many do you throw out to cast up one perfect set? How many botches are there?
I'll be honest with you,
know?
I don't know on that. And the thing is it's because when they get it, they have to get the resin blend right. They have to get the bubbles out of it. And then they have to put them in the molds, and they have to make sure that the pressure that they put them through takes all those air bubbles out, and that you're getting that perfect mold. So if it takes 1 turn, 50 turns, or 500 turns, you do what you need to do until you get a perfect one. Since I've worked with Forgeworld, I take a lot of pride in the fact that the guy...
They've gotten a lot better.
And
Yeah.
when you were at Adepticon and you were at the table across from the Forgeworld booth, and you saw Steven, who's in charge of a lot of that quality control, people who would bring models down and say, hey, I noticed there was a bubble in it, he would immediately give them a brand new model, and he doesn't throw those models away or get rid of them. He takes them back to Forgeworld and discusses where we need to be looking for quality control, which for me is taking it a step higher than normal production, mass production models.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me throw out what I have as an observation, and you can tell me, maybe expand on that.
Okay.
The war games industry is growing. Obviously, Games Workshop has really taken it to a certain point. They're like 25 years in. 28 years now?
28 years.
Something like that.
Yep.
And like Privateer Press, they're 10 years old.
Yep.
So, and obviously the pie is getting bigger.
It is.
What is the pie going to look like 10 years down the road?
That's a great question. Looking at the industry, I like the things that are happening right now. And the reason why is because not everybody wants to play GW games right now where it's massive troops, it's big armies, it's 2,500 points, it's 1,500 points for the 40K, and you see that there's these wonderful opportunities like Privateer Press where you come out with War Machine, smaller, more skirmish, limited amount of models, shorter game periods, and you still get the full effect of playing a game, and you get the challenges of painting, building, and the experience. I like the fact that the industry diversifies like that, to cover what your demands are. You know, you've got guys here where you were kind enough to bring us all the guys for Flames of War. You know, if you're a historical buff, you get that aspect of it as well. And I love the fact that the industry as a whole is diverse enough that you don't have a choice between Coke or Pepsi. You know, you don't have a choice between 40K and fantasy. You've got everything else out there.
So do you think it will become more diversified? Like you might see a company with, like Games Workshop will still grow.
Yep.
But you might see a company with like a 20% market share.
I would agree with that. And watching how Privateer Press has grown, you know, there's a lot of those companies are doing. I can see companies that come in with, you know, a combination of a card game with a miniatures game, you know, where you get to draw them up and you get to, you know, get random effects. I can see that there's a lot of opportunities for that. I love the opportunity to play different games. Keeps your brain sharp, you know, keeps you engaged. And let's face it, we don't always have time for a 3-hour game.
No, thank you. Oh, and by the way, if you see me, like I'm not looking at you, I'm looking that direction. It's because in the camera, if I look at you, it's like this weird profile. And I realized, like on Regis and Kathy Lee, they aren't looking directly at each other.
No.
They actually turn
To the
off
general
to the
area.
side. One thing, I'm very anxious for what I call the wargaming industry, and it is. It's still, even after 28 years, and all the pioneering Games Workshop has done, it's just now at an emerging state.
Yes.
Where it has yet to kind of shake out how this is going to be. For example, esports. There's now, you know, you can be a professional. You can play StarCraft 2 and make $40,000 a year.
Yes.
You know, you can be a professional, whatever. You don't see that in war games yet. Like there aren't those pro. I think that's where it's going. I think you're going to have an ESPN for wargaming, where it's like 24-hour coverage, maybe 16-hour coverage, right? And you're going to see it, like every event will be covered. Oh, and by the way, Blue Table Painting, we want a piece of that.
Oh.
We are anxiously engaged in setting ourselves up to do that. For example, because recently at the studio we've been, now I'm not interviewing so much anymore. I'm just rambling with you sitting next to me.
No, I like it. It's insightful.
He's okay with, and that's how Elliot is. Most people are like, oh, I'm laid back. I'm easy to get along with. No, you're probably not. This guy actually is laid back and easy to get along with. Okay, so anyway, so we've recently been gathering in the studio, and we've said, what is the maxed out version of all this stuff? What is the most amazing thing we could do? Valhalla, for example, is awesome.
The pinnacle.
The price is right. It is. And because Sarah and I came back from Adepticon one year, and Adepticon is awesome. And we started talking about what would be the best experience you could have? What would be something different? And it was, yeah, go ahead.
Well, the thing that I'm noticing, and Brad said it, who's the guest who brought me up here, the thing that I noticed is Brad said to me, he goes, wow, you know what I really loved? He says, the first time we came up to Valhalla, which was a year ago with y'all, and he said, I realized that me and my brother were top tier players in the country. He says, after spending the 5 days at Valhalla, he says, the intensity, meaning that you're completely immersed, not that the games are that intense, but you can ramble. You guys, I go out to a hobby store, I throw down, I play a 2.5, 3-hour game, I chit-chat with the guys after the game, kind of breaking it down, and then I leave. And I get back to another game 2-3 days later, or my following gaming group the next Thursday. Where Brad said, after spending 5 days at like a retreat, a private retreat, where you can get your head into it and really focus on it, he said, me and my brother went from being guys that finish in the middle of the pack at tournaments to that now we always finish in the top couple guys in the tournaments. Brad right now is ranked 8th on in the national rankings of players. And it's funny because the guys we have here this weekend, there's the number 2 orc player, the number 3 orc player. I was once ranked number 1 in the world, and I'm trying to get back to it. And I'm sitting here finding myself going, wow, the immersion and surrounding yourself with this quality of players, and you realize I don't need to worry about anything. I don't need to worry about clean towels. I don't need to worry about finding Army Builder if I change my build. They've supplied computers, Army Builder, all your food, everything you could want.
So, like at a convention, you go to the 8th, it's close, but you go to the 8th floor and you go to your hotel room.
Yep.
Here, you actually walk like 20 feet
To your room.
to your room. When you, ding, 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 it's lunchtime, you go 8 feet to go eat your lunch. It's kind of like a mild-mannered house party
Yeah.
type of thing. And yeah,
like,
you're
the other
absolutely
one
right.
is, I mean, you guys are looking at this deck that we're sitting on right now, and I know you can see the forest behind us, and you can probably hear the stream down below and
I'm
everything.
gonna give it a swing.
With that stream and the forest and the deck, we requested them to set up on that table right there. We set up and we gamed hanging over the side of the mountain in front of the fireplace while we're gaming. And, you know, I mean, I go to a lot of places and I game, and it's a dark, dingy gaming hall or even a huge convention hall that's maybe in a great hotel. But to say, hey, I'm sitting in a place that's this beautiful and I'm rolling dice and I'm enjoying the atmosphere is unprecedented.
You can bring your wife,
which I did.
and it's not like
There's a spot
you know,
down at the bottom of the hill.
like they're just when can we get out of here? Oh no, there's a whole thing for them to.
And the theater.
And, I was like, was that an earthquake?
Oh, we
What
were
was that?
so
We were
was
trying
like,
to
"That
figure
thunder?"
out what that like was shaking the house a little bit. It's because that theater is so loud.
The sound system is
It
amazing.
is, yeah, and it is like it is soundproofed. So
Yeah.
we're hoping future locations will still have that feature, but they might have different. One place we're looking at right now has catch and release fish. It has like a private lake that you go to and you can do a little bit of fishing, but no theater.
Yeah.
But it's also larger too. It has way larger gaming areas.
Yeah. And then
So,
last
anyway.
night, after doing our 9,000 points on 9,000 points on a 12-foot table mega battle with war mammoths and toad dragons and all the glory of multiple Kadai
It was
destroyers.
incredible.
And,
It was incredible.
Yeah, and then you realize, wow, that was exhausting. I'm going to go sit in the hot tub.
Right? Yeah, right. And our dream is to build something to start out with in the coming years, about 3 times the size of this. This is 6,000 square feet. So right now we're looking for 1,800 and to up the guest count to probably 30 to 60 people. One type of event we've contemplated we call top tables. Which is
Oh, yeah.
so the tournament season ends, we find out who the top 8 or 10 people are, and we invite them out, and it's all, they don't pay a cent. Right now we're talking about paying their airfare as well.
Ooh.
So, right? So you don't pay it, you just come out, and then but that's the draw. It's like a little fantasy camp. You come out, now you get to play against the top people. And
See, I would
like
almost
you said,
be in
you
that
can
I
hone
was-
your skills. 4 days of playing with all the top players and talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the people that are going to emerge. They're going to be out of the gate just punching it.
Yeah. And knowing all I mean, for the last 2 years, I've been doing nothing but running tournaments. I would even do it where I say, hey, I will, you add that as, and this is a registered tournament or a qualifying
Ooh,
tournament to get
right.
an invite. Because right now we've got guys where I'm
Yeah,
involved with Feast of Blades, and
Yeah,
Feast of
we're
Blades
going to
does
that.
it where they send invitations to all the gaming stores to hold a qualifying tournament. And then what you do is you do all those qualifying tournaments, then hold a major tournament of everyone who qualified. And that's kind of the way they do it in Europe, is right now they have 3 rounds of qualifiers, and then they hold the
It's like the
major
Olympics.
tournaments. Yep. Do
Now
qualifiers.
that's interesting, and we want a piece of that. And back to what we're doing at the studios, where we get together and we think, what is the most exaggerated, awesome, mega version of whatever it is? And we were thinking, okay, well, news-wise would be a 24-hour news channel, something for everybody, and it catered to whatever was going on in the war games industry. It was going to flash by at some point in time in the 24-hour cycle. A smaller version of this, well, think about it. It's all quantifiable. Like right now, I've committed to put up, don't hold me to this, but I've set a goal of putting up 42 videos a week. And if you look at that, that's about 7 hours of footage. So I'm already, let's conservatively say, a third of the way to the 16-hour cycle.
And the crazy thing is that initially, I'd say pie in the sky. And I'd almost say, you know what, yeah, that's a great goal, good job for you. Except for this past week, I sat there and I was flipping through channels like we all do, and they had, I think it was 6 hours a day of coverage of Comic-Con in San Diego.
Right.
And I was like, holy crud, is it such a massive event
It is.
that they're doing on national television, not YouTube, not anything else, national television. It's important enough and there's a big enough draw that for 6 hours a day, they're doing coverage from Comic-Con. So that's how you know that there is a big following for fantasy games, fantasy movies, you know, all that stuff that's coming out, that the demand is there. It's just a matter of supplying what they're looking for.
Yeah. And one of the ideas we came up with was we want to do sets and costumes. So, like, you'll have Wargaming Rumors with Erathiel the Farseer. And he'll
I like
have,
it.
and one of the characters is his singing staff has like a CGI face on it or something. And Singing Spear says yes.
Yeah, there we go.
And right,
Nice.
See, I know I'm onto something when
Well-
the gamer nerd gets a big old goofy
Well,
smile on his face.
well, because
And
every
he's
one
like,
of us-
and stocks are going. The runestones say the stock prices are going to rise.
Well, here's the thing: is
Some
every
kind of
one of
thing
us
like that.
sits down in front of our computer at night, and what do? You're like, oh, let's go on to Warseer, or let's go on to the websites and look at all the rumors that are coming up. How nice it would be if somebody sat there and said, look, we're going to get all the rumors, we're going to gather it all together, we're going to give you real information where you can say, you know what, instead of surfing through the board and seeing what all the junk is that people are saying, is you can say, hey, you know what, here's the rumor, this is what we found out, this is where we justified it, and let's give it to you in 5 and 15-minute snippets so you can get on with your life and get back to gaming.
I'm already on that. We're starting a new segment. I'm calling it like rumor reactions, where for the people that don't care for reading. I'm going to verbally. I'm just going to go on and look at all the rumors, read them out loud, cite the source, and make my own comments on it. Because I think a lot of people are new, so they don't get very much context to these things. You know,
I think
like
that'd be great.
for example, Eldar's supposed to come out with a Zentark, and some people are like, well, what's that? Well, I know enough history to know that in the last Eldar Codex, they introduced a martial hero called an Autarch, right? And then before that, the Aspect Warriors would have Exarchs in the
Correct.
you know, would be the leader of their thing.
Yep.
So give some context to it, and then maybe even some real world stuff, like the suffix arc means what? Leader, ruler? I don't know. What's the etymology? But take all those rumors, condense them down, or read them out loud verbally, but give them a context. You know, like most people don't know when Games Workshop starts pulling things off the site, that's a sign that that's going to be the next release. And also market prices too. Like right now, all of a sudden everyone wants to trade in their Eldar army. Guess what? Yeah, that's right. Because the tide has started going out, and the tsunami is coming, which is there's going to be new models. So I don't, if I trade those models in, I don't know if they're going to be worth dirt in 2 months from now.
Because everyone's going to want the newest and greatest.
Yeah, when they release the new things, all that old stuff is just wiped out.
Yep.
So anyway, well, there's a lot to it, Shannon. Shannon just jumped up to the window and went,
They're so cute at that age.
That is, yes, and then they become cynical. No, wait, Shannon's already cynical. And that is another great thing about Valhalla, is kind of the family atmosphere, where it's not so detached.
Yeah.
And that's so all those, I guess 2 years ago, Sarah and I sat down and we were like, okay, what are the elements about a convention that could be done better? And one of them actually was the scale, but we expressed it as, and to a smaller scale. How could we do that? Because it's all so hurried, you know, and you don't really get to know the people that you play. It's crowded, it's loud, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You're rubbing butt cheeks with the guy like across the way from you.
It's
so
poor lighting, and it's done up where you're in a huge, massive convention hall. You can barely hear the guy across the room for you. I mean, sitting out here, we're chit-chatting, and the loudest thing around here is a nice stream behind us and a bird.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Elliot, I think we're...
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got a lot of great material out of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to get the other guys now. Thanks for tuning in.